is there even like a biblical basis for like these lock-ins or these LAN parties? And I think there is, not just to like make something up, because I never want to go to the scriptures that way, but you see some of these concepts of like Jesus retreating, right? You mentioned retreat before. And so there's an aspect where, okay, Jesus is doing a ton of ministry. You can see that in Luke and other places in the Gospels where he's doing a ton of ministry. He's ministering to a bunch of people, but he has to like pull back and retreat by himself, but also with his disciples, with his close friends. And so there's something there that I think we're good at in the Christian circles of like retreating or becoming, or we need to be better at it maybe, but so we get that concept of retreating, okay? And so the LAN party, it kind of gives you that retreat feel, okay? You're retreating with like-minded people, you're retreating with gamers and stuff like that. And then I was just thinking more specifically like Hebrews 10:24 and 25, where it talks about, it says, let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more you see the day drawing near. And so there's a lot more other context. I don't want to get a huge Bible study on this, but I think contextually it's okay to say like, hey, look at that. We're as the church, we're supposed to meet with one another, okay? And now there's all kinds of people that come to our LAN parties, not just followers of Jesus, and it's meant to be that way. It's open to anybody, and we hope that anybody comes, right? But especially for followers of Jesus, like, we got to keep coming together. We got to meet in person and things like that. Like, I know there's a lot of like online churches and things like that. I'm not downing them, but there is just something so different with being in person, right? Even right now, like, this is great. We're in person, and you know, we sometimes do these live things where Joe's on the other screen, and it's just so different. Even that, like, okay, we all know that, right? And so, no surprise that the Bible's like meet together. And I think specifically like meet in person, okay? There's just something so different. And this goes into like our whole Proverbs 27:17 thing of like, we want to be people that are in a ministry that sharpens one another, okay, in Christ. And so like Hebrews is saying, let us consider then how to stir one another to love and to good works. And so that's something that we want to continue to have consistent in our LAN party as we do play, compete, and equip, right? And so that's why we have workshops and things like that. That's why we do our Forge study. But we need to do that. We need to continue to stir each other up to do good, and to then almost see the LAN party as like, there's multiple ways you can see the LAN party. Like, I'm coming here with my friends, having a good time, playing games together. It's great. I'm building relationships and new friendships. That's great. But then also, can we see that as like a time where for the followers of Jesus, hey, we're coming together as gamers that are in different parts of the internet and the gaming space, but we're like rallying together and being equipped to be like, go back to our office or our bedroom and to be online playing games with other people by ourselves, right? So I think we need that rallying point. And so I hope that our LANs become more of that for people. I hope we get people to view it that way as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And honestly, thinking through the passage in Hebrews, it's very applicable to me, even as I think through going to conferences like in general. Half of them are online. You can do an online presence just to go to a conference for many of these things. And for me, it is evaluating the value of the time spent in travel to actually get there, and how big of a pain in the butt is it to lug my computer set up somewhere. It's even worse than a conference, right? So,
but it's worth it.
Yeah, but it's worth it, right? And I love doing it, and I think that's a big part of it, right? Is like, don't give up the habit, you know, of meeting together. And even if it is one a year and you have to stumble over someone's name, whatever, right? like do that. And if you can't build, you know, time to game on the regular with other folks, maybe consider like, is it worth it to try to build that, right? Is it worth it to try to do that? And we do some of those cadences, right? So like, I know like Parent, by way of example, has been running like RTS games. We've got like a Rocket League night. We've got, you know, a monthly D&D that we run, right? So there's a bunch of different ways that we're trying to say, hey, some of these are online, some of these are in person. And I think, honestly, it's a big part of why some of the folks in our community have transitioned from PC gaming and video gaming in general to tabletop. So if you think about that, there's several individuals like, you know, Sellsword, right, and Boldfist that have both sort of said, we are transitioning to tabletop gaming because it helps us build FaceTime along with the game time.
Right.
And
that's true.
I think that's
so
important.
True.
And that's part of why we do the LAN, right? The LAN is we want the face time. We're saying it's worth it for us to get together.
We were just talking about that on the drive here, which again, like the value of like the drive to somewhere, right? And we have board games. You guys, if you're looking at us live, we have board games. We have video games behind us, but there are board games in front of us. And so we were just talking about the value of, again, our kind of like part of our vision statement of like play, compete, equip, and having every aspect of that present at everything we do, for that reason, because we're just talking about okay, when we do events, what do they look like again? And so we want to be about the casual player, the competitive gamer, and equip them. And so we want to continue to have board games present in any event that we do, right, where we run, including LAN parties, board games present, tabletop stuff present, along with video games that are just like free play, just for fun, and then a tournament. And so what you're doing there is that you're reaching a span of people in the gaming space, and you're getting different levels of relationship out of that, right? Because, I mean, we saw it last night. We had, there was like 14 high schoolers just right there behind us in a small space playing Smash Brothers together and whatever else together, and they're having a great time. They're having a blast. But they're largely just talking about the game, and so there's not much you can do except for like in between for side conversations. But when you see, like I saw Josh and you playing 5 minute dragon, not dragon, 5 minute, I can't read that.
Marvel. Yeah.
5 minute dragon, 5 minute Marvel. You guys are like able to have those conversations with some other people, right? Mm-hmm. And so yeah, it's just awesome. So we want to keep those things, those threefold things, as part of our concept. So yeah.
Yeah, right, for sure. Right on.
I don't know, what else do you guys think, the people next to us? You guys have any thoughts for the LAN parties and all that?
I mean, that was kind of the idea behind the like retro casual console corner when we first set that up, was how can we kind of bridge that gap from
our social space. Yeah,
the social space. How can we bridge that gap from just, everyone sitting at their own computer to let's get people, next to each other, like on a couch in front of a TV, and kind of make that step closer towards, tabletop, because, not everyone either enjoys tabletop games or, is comfortable sitting like across the table from someone. And so how do you kind of make that effort to really connect with people, but in a way that everyone is, comfortable with and enjoys?
So that's a great point. That just made me think of something, because we've been consulting with other churches, because a lot of churches are becoming more open to gaming, and they're like, oh, we just want to put on a tournament, like a gaming thing, and that'll bring people. And it's like, I think part of that's true, but just like a ministry would be hyper intentional with what they do in a lock-in, I think there needs to be that hyper intentionality in running an event too. That might be missing, because it's like, okay, anybody can put on a Smash Brothers tournament. I'm not saying it'll be good, but anybody can put it on. But it's more than just putting on the event. It's like creating that social environment, and that's actually more challenging, right? It's easy to put, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's easy to put on an event, but to your point, like why we're creating that social space, how can we go past that, go deeper than that? Right. And a lot of people think like, oh, Forge Gaming, you guys are all about video games, and I'm like, well, not actually. Yeah. We're all about people playing video games. If anything, we're actually trying to help people play games less, so they can be more connected to relationship and Jesus and things like that. Because sometimes we can just use video games as like, oh yeah, I'm going to use that as a ministry now, and it's like, but are you? Anyway.
Right. I mean, just a game for the sake of a game. Like, I mean, if the church served beer, it would be a bar, right? If my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like I
don't know where you're going, but I like
it. What that means is
you had me at beer.
What that means is it's like you can just host, if you're just hosting the tournament just to get kids there and have a good time. Like, open a gaming cafe. Oh yeah. Like, do something else. I mean, those exist, right? Like, I mean, there's gaming cafes. There's people that run like video game businesses, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's not what we're about. We're not trying to do like a game on the road show. We're trying to say, hey, the focused intensity here is trying to build connections into people, and that's a really big part of it.
Yeah.
So,
although gaming cafe actually sounds pretty cool.
I mean, so a church gaming cafe bar, like on a bicycle.
Now we're.
We should add cats to
Now
it.
we've jumped the shark.
Now we have vision.
No, we
Now
gotta add
we've jumped
cats
the
to
shark.
it. You can
So-
pet a cat while playing.
Oh, yes. you
Everybody
know,
will be evil villains.
Where did?
named evil villains.
I just want to see the math you did in your head to get the cat in this conversation. That's awesome.
Cat cafe.
Yeah, cat cafe.
Oh, wait, they have cat cafes?
Who wouldn't?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
they
do.
do.
There's
Time out,
Cleveland. There's
time
some in
out,
Cleveland.
time
No,
out. I know we
that's-
said we were doing 30 minutes, but I need to know about these cat cafes.
That's real. That's
What-
actually real.
Wait, cat cafes
Yeah,
is a
there's some
thing?
in Cleveland.
Yeah, so there's a couple I think in Cleveland.
Yeah.
There's definitely one.
There's like
they
3.
they have
What?
like this room off to the side in this cafe that they just have like
Oh my
20
gosh,
cats.
dude. Okay, this is
Yes, we
hilarious.
gotta go.
And so you
I just Googled
like,
it.
Sign up for a time slot to go
Yeah.
and sit in a room with like 20 cats. It's
Mhm.
great.
In Cleveland, Ohio, there's a place called Affogato
Mhm.
Cat Cafe, which that just okay. I give them props. That's amazing. And if you don't know why that's amazing, but an affogato is an espresso with ice cream, and it's amazing. It's really good. But gato is also cat in is it Spanish?
Spanish,
yeah.
Yeah.
So that is okay. I like them a lot. I hate it, but I like them a lot for that name. So. Okay, we gotta get back on track. I don't know what track we're on anymore, but we gotta get back to it.